So, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Chairman, Joyce, and the representative of the International Affairs. Thank you very much for your warm introduction. It's a pleasure and an honor, both for the ZKM and for myself, to be invited to speak here today. And I was asked for a lecture for 2 hours. That's a pretty long duration, and I have to thank you for your patience and for your interest in advance. And I hope that it will be interesting and enjoyable for you. My name is Christiana Riedel, and I'm the General Manager of the ZKM, the Center for Art and Media. But where is Karlsruhe, where ZKM is located? It's in Germany, in Europe, of course, and it's located on the rim of the German Republic, very close to France and in the near of Switzerland. So that's far away from Berlin, but it's close to Paris. There's a high-speed train between Karlsruhe and Paris, so it lasts only 2.5 hours to go from the French capital to Karlsruhe, and it will last 6 hours to go from Karlsruhe to the German capital, to Berlin. My position in ZKM is the link between the artistic ideas and the realization. As an advocate of the ideas, I manage the resources of ZKM and the program in general. I'm also in charge of the ZKM strategic collaborations with partners both from art and science and from politics and economic. And I liaise with the founders and the sponsors regularly, as well as with the private collectors. We are in collaboration. And I'm also the representative of ZKM in International Affairs on behalf of the chairman, of Mr. Peter Weibel. As you might know, he is one of the leading media theorists, as well as a known curator and an artist, a media artist. In the next 2 hours, I'd like to tell you a little more about ZKM and what we are doing there. I will then move on to the kind of paradigm shift museums have to cope with in the age of new media. So my topic is paradigm shift and the challenge of conservation in new media age. So that my topic is related to the conversation of art means that new media, the very new media, hasn't passed. Otherwise, you don't have to conserve it. So that's an important fact we have to discuss today. As you might have heard, ZKM is working on the cutting edge of production, exhibition, and conservation of new media art. On one hand, the production of new media art becomes easier and more comfortable due to the increasing technical skills of the artist and due to the user-friendly hardware and software. On the other hand, the conservation of that kind of art becomes a strong challenge, which causes a paradigm shift for all museums and institutions collecting new media art. With some general theoretical thoughts concerning this paradigm shift and the current practice of conservation, I would like to address following topics. I'm going to start by what is ZKM and what is the history of such an institution. And I will address the paradigm shift of the museum and the emancipated user, and the paradigm shift of conservation. The second part of my lecture will be more theoretically or art scientifically, and it's addressed to the conversation as the origin of culture. And the third part will be more practically, and is focused on the media art collection and the challenge of conservation. These are the matters I intend to address. So, before we start into my contribution to the current conference, some information about the ZKM, the Center for Art and Media Technology, will perhaps be needed to start with. The ZKM is known as a cultural institution for the production, presentation of contemporary art in relation to new media. It responds to the rapid development of information technologies and changes in social structures which this brings about. In its work, the ZKM units production and research, exhibition and events, collection and documentation, and education as well. International cooperation, a broadly conceived program of guest artists, guest scientists, and guest curators from all over the world, major thematic traveling exhibitions, and extensive publications with the MIT Press have made the ZKM known. The center was founded more than 20 years ago. The mission was to carry forward the interaction between classical and technical arts into the digital age. It thus carries out an examination of the innovations of information technologies, with the option thus opened up for art and the social transformations set in motion as a consequence. It accordingly occupies itself both with the production and presentation of art, as well as with changing attitudes among the recipients. The center, or ZKM as center, consists of several institutes and departments. You can see on the slide the several institutes for research and development and the 2 museums that are housed by the ZKM, and you can see some facts. So for exhibitions there are available 16,000 square meters. In addition, the foyer, which developed as an exhibition space too, and several other spaces I will show you on the next slide. So ZKM is located in an enormous, huge building. It's 320 meters long. That's the size approximate or similar to the Titanic, even if the goal is quite different. So, and the blue squares you can see, that's the spaces, the venues of ZKM. The building has been a munition factory in former times, and it was transformed to a cultural venue in the early 19th in the last century. Before it has been over decades an industrial ruin, and the responsible person in the city of Karlsruhe were wondering what to do with this huge building, which lays in the middle of the city and divorced the city in 2 parts. So firstly, it was scheduled to bring the ZKM as a very advanced institution in a very advanced architecture. And there was an international competition for architects, which was won by Rem Koolhaas. And this new building for the ZKM would have been the first realized huge building of Rem Koolhaas, but up to the realization planning over 2 years, the decision makers in the city of Karlsruhe came to the conclusion that they will change their opinion, because the planning of Rem Koolhaas becomes very expensive. So the cities, or no, the responsible persons in the city of Karlsruhe, they were afraid that they never will fulfill this architectural vision. So they changed their mind and they changed the concept, and ZKM was moved into that former industrial ruin. That's a pretty interesting point, because at the same time, Bilbao, or Guggenheim in Bilbao, was set up. And the first director of ZKM, Heinrich Klotz, he was a close friend of Thomas Krenz. And they both were or are addicted to new architectural concepts. So there was, for my feeling, a little competition between the both friends, or the two friends, who will run the most advanced architecture. We have to ask whether Thomas Krenz or Heinrich Klotz won the competition. Nevertheless, in Bilbao, Frank Gehry built the new museum, and in Karlsruhe, yes, the decision was made to use that industrial and historical architecture for an advanced institution. So for my opinion, that was the right decision. Of course, now we can, of course, ZKM now in this old building has so much more space available for its work and for experimental work. So up to 1997, ZKM was located in this building, but it was founded some years before, in 1989. That was the year of the German reunion, which is a very important break in the German history, as well for the worldwide globalization. So on the slide you can see the Museum of Contemporary Art in the first two light wells. This historical industrial building is divided in 10 very similar light wells. We call it light wells. And in the 6th light well you can find the Media Theater. The 7th light well is the foyer, the central foyer of the whole building. And in the light well 8 and 9 you can find the Media Museum. In between the spaces of ZKM, the State University for Arts and Design is located. The university was founded or was created out of the same vision as ZKM was created on. So, and we are two different institutions, but we have a very close neighborhood and a very, very close and intensive relationship. And you can find the municipal gallery in the 10th, in the south light well. So the whole complex is known as ZKM, even is ZKM only one of the 3 institutions within that building. Up to the foundation date in 1989, ZKM presented over 450 exhibitions already. That's nearly 20 till 25 exhibitions per year in ZKM, as well as outside in ZKM, like Istanbul, Madrid, and so on. And we are known as a venue of scientific discussions. So we run approximately 15 to 20 scientific symposia and conferences per year. And I mentioned before our Artist in Residence program, or Scientist in Residence program. Over 550 artists and scientists have been working in ZKM already. And even as ZKM Center for New Media, we are addicted to print books. So to each large or important exhibition or production, we publish books, and not less 800 pages, the most of them. So I avoid to bring the books here to the audience because it's really too heavy to fly with. 200,000 to 250,000 visitors per year came to ZKM from the region of Karlsruhe, but also from abroad. I mentioned the 2 museums of ZKM before. The core of ZKM is the Media Museum, where we present mostly interactive artworks which are produced in or with ZKM. Some of the icons of that production I would like to present to you. It's, for example, Legible City from Jeffrey Shaw. Jeffrey Shaw was the former head of the Institute of Visual Media in ZKM. Now he is professor in Hong Kong, and I think he is a well-known person in the audience. And for example, we show the plant growing from Christa Sommerer and Laurent Mignonnet. Beyond Pages from Masaki Fujihata. Fruit Machine from Agnes Hegedus, or Barcode Hotel from Perry Hoberman. That's productions from the early 19th, and they are, as I mentioned before, they are the icons of interactive art, which we have to present to the audience, to ZKM, and they are not willing to avoid them. The second museum is the Museum of Contemporary Art. It has the emphasis on all genres of art, from the 60s of the last century to the present, in collaboration with large and prominent private art collections. So the museum started 12 years ago, and it was offered to the private art collectors within the state of Baden-Württemberg to present them a space where they can present their art collections or part of them. So we start with 4 partners. It is the collection of the family Gresslin, Friedrich E. Rentschler, Mr. Weishaupt, and the collection Fröhlich from Stuttgart. But there were more private collection editions over the course of the last years. So we opened the field of the private collectors we are collaborating with. So Harald Falkenberg is a very intensive and close partner to ZKM, as well as Ingrid Götz. She is one of the most prominent art collectors collecting media art. And we showed 3 exhibitions already in collaboration with her. We are collaborating also with Christian Boris. Some of you maybe have heard or seen his bunker in Berlin, where he presents his private collection, and as well with Volker A. Feierabend. He lives and works in Italy, in Milan, and he owns a very huge collection of Italian art, which is interesting for ZKM, because some parts of the collection are focused on optical art, op art, and kinetic art, like the Gruppo Mead, and among others. Now I would like to introduce some of the most important ZKM exhibitions briefly. Or not briefly, I don't know. So I list on only a few of the exhibitions we ran over the last years. And as Peter Weibel came to ZKM in the year 1999, he started with the exhibition Net Condition, Art and Politics in the Online Universe. So he placed his main issue to present artistic works in reflection of the social transformation, which is caused by the new media, especially by the internet development. In the same year, he presented Olafur Eliasson. Today, he is one of the stars of the art scene. When he was presented with his first monographic exhibition in ZKM, he was completely unknown. And the journalist said, Olafur who? We can't spell the name, so he doesn't exist. But it was a very successful exhibition concerning the audience.